everyone, Diane here. Welcome to my studio. Today we're going to have some fun and paint some lines, some stripes, some colours. This is my tester sheet, and so it's looking a little bit like a Navajo Indian design, isn't it? Although I don't think I know the first thing about Navajo Indians. But anyway, that's my colour scheme for today. I'm going to be using my Kuretake set, and I'm going to concentrate on this side here where I've got my reds and browns and things like that. And just over here, I've got a couple of neutrals and some additional quinacridone gold, which is not from the set, but which I need to add. Plus, I'm going to, this was actually blue, but when I put the blue on, cobalt blue, it turned green because it was incorporated into the quinacridone. So the idea was I was going to have a bit of green in there. And I'm referring back to a couple of doodles that I did not long ago, plus this, what I was calling a colorscape, an abstract colorscape. And I did a whole bunch of these a while ago, and I ring bound them like this so that they would be able to be kept together, which has turned out to be a good idea because otherwise I would have forgotten completely about them. And this is the same sort of colour scheme. So we're going to work with that. So I'm going to put that here as a kind of reminder of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm going to get started right away. So let's jump right in, as they say on all the best videos. Just put my reference photo up in front of me on my iPad there. I've put some, this is a piece of Meaden watercolor paper, 100% cotton, 12 by 9 inches. This is rough, but it's not very rough, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to pretend it is cold press because it will react in exactly the same way as cold press paper. So don't worry about whether you've got rough or not. It doesn't matter. Any paper will do, any brand will do, anything will do. You can paint on loo roll if you want, whatever. So let's get started. I'm going to start at the top of the page with a relatively light colour, just because why not? Oh, I've got here my pens and things, so I'm going to use for my mark making. This is going to be a mark making expedition. I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow ochre with some, don't know what they call this colour, but I call it vanilla. And I'm going to add some water, and I'm going to go across the top. And it doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be actually evenly spread. If you've got some dry brush marks there, that's fine. If you want that, just leave it. Otherwise, paint over it. So just give yourself some space there. And the idea is you're going to give yourself lots of different colour, bands of colour. This is gold, although it doesn't look like it. And you're going to put it on here irregularly, and this is going to form the basis of your mark making expedition for the day. And as you go along, you will find that your imagination takes over and you end up doing something that you didn't actually expect to do. But, let's go with the flow. Go with the flow. There's no more appropriate expression in the English language or any other language for watercolor painting than go with the flow, is there? I mean, isn't that what it's all about? That is Indian red. That one there. I think it says it is anyway. So I'm going to say, yes, it is, although I don't think it is actually. Do you think I ought to check that? Can't be bothered. Can't be bothered. Tell you what I do want though. I do want to find some nice, bright, really bright brown, burnt sienna, nice, bright, burnt sienna gebrannt. Jawohl. Here is this. This is Schminker, burnt. No, that's burnt umber. That's no good. Try again. Okay. We'll go to England for our burnt sienna. This is De La Rowney. Very good. Very good. Let's put that there. Burnt sienna used to be, before I discovered quinacridone gold, burnt sienna used to be my favourite colour because it makes such a lovely grey when you mix it with ultramarine. There we are, that's burnt sienna. And we're just going to drag that along there and let it meld with the Indian red. And the Indian red being somewhat opaque and the burnt sienna being somewhat translucent, we will get interesting mushes, okay? Right, so then I'll show you actually ultramarine. Ugh. Looks like the dog's been in there. Ultramarine and burnt sienna make a lovely soft grey. It's my favourite grey. It's so good for clouds, and most people, funnily enough, most people, unless they're English, it's a well-kept English secret, don't know about that. Yeah, see? And now I'm going to put some pink. Do you remember in the 1980s, wasn't it? Pink and grey were the thing. It hasn't really been, I don't know, has it been that popular since then? You remember, you know, things like Last Christmas, I Gave You My Heart and all that lot. They all wore pink and grey duvet jackets, didn't they? Am I hallucinating? And there's Indian red coming in again because it wanted to. And I'm going to go for the burnt sienna again, and I'm going to bring it down in blocks. And we don't know what we're going to do with this once it's done, but it's fun, it's fun. And there we are with the ultramarine again coming in, giving us a nice textured blue. You see, when you do this kind of work, what you're doing is you're finding out how to make light reflect on the sea. See? See, that's light reflecting on the sea. And that's how you do it. And then you come across with another piece of light reflecting on the sea. You're playing, but you're learning. And partly that's because this is rough paper and it has a nice texture to it. Now I'm coming in with vanilla again, and we can pretend that that's the sand in the foreground of the picture. It's starting to look a bit like a beach, isn't it? This is like a very ominous looking sky over there and some hills in the distance. And then there's a bit of dry desert on the far distance there. And then we've got some water. And then suddenly there's a kind of barrier here, which could be a jetty or something like that. And then some more water on this side. So you've got kind of perspective and depth if you care to look at it that way. Okay. And now I'm coming back in with a bit of ultramarine blue again. And I feel suddenly that we need a darker colour. That used to be one of my favourite combinations. Dark chocolate, that is to say bitter chocolate, with blue, light blue. I think that was in fashion one time too, in the days when I used to care about these things. I'm going to put some lines in up here just because, why not? Let's go back to the burnt sienna. I'm a bit short of water here, so we'll put more water in. And at this point, if you look back over what you've done, you'll probably be saying, if you're anything like me, you'll be saying, oh my God, Diane, what have you done? I used to have a friend who used to call me Diane. Yeah, that's very funny, very funny. Okay, so let's just keep going. What have you done, Diane? I don't know. I don't care. Let's put some pink in the bottom here. And then right down the bottom, we'll put a nice row of ultramarine blue with a bit of pink in it, which gives it a kind of opacity. Now, if you wanted to, you can make alterations here. If you don't like those lines, get rid of them, okay? Get rid of them, gone, 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 gone. And if you want to make other alterations, you could add things, but what we're going to do here in my case is we're going to let it dry, or put the hairdryer on it, aren't we? Okay, that's more or less dry now, and I'm going to take off this rather distracting washi tape, which has given me a clean edge, and that's all I need. If I go over the edge a little bit now, it doesn't really matter. In fact, it didn't matter in the first place, but I thought I would just, play the game a little bit. Now, you can either start from the top or the bottom or the middle. It's up to you. And what you're going to do now is you're going to do some mark making. So I suggest that what we do is we start from the place where it's dry, which I think would probably tend to be down the bottom here. And what you need to do this, actually, is you need to grab your kit of ideas. That's what I would suggest. Somewhere here I will have some ideas. Not in this one. This is, well, there are some in there. But in here we have, and maybe there are some in here too. Let's enter my homeopathy, and no, nothing in there. So there. We have doodles, right? So what I did was, I hope I'm still recording this. Yes. I made some little samples of different doodles to give me inspiration for when I actually come to doing a mark-making painting. Because you know what? You can't remember all these things. We don't have enough brain cells. So I thought, well, it's a good idea. I'll do this. And so I'm going through this and looking and thinking, oh, yeah, that wasn't a bad idea. I do like these 5-part dots, circles, flowers, whatever. And here we have some others. And I did these doodles on different colours of paint. So that was teal, green, and spinal ochre. What was this? This was the Veronica, what's her name? Victoria Hilbrecht paints, which come from Germany. I'll put a link in those. Occasionally somebody buys a set of those and they don't regret it. Yeah, I ought to get them out, actually. And the next video I do, I'll use Victoria's paints. Yeah, so we could have little birds, we could have spirals, we can have blue, we can have green, we can have violet. What was that song? I can be blue, I can be green, I can be violet sky, I can be purple, I can be hurtful, I can be anything I like. That was a TikTok thing a few years ago, wasn't it? So anyway, so these are ideas for what we could do on our mark making, and there's some more here. And if you want to refer to any of these, oops, there's a house, and a landscape. Okay, so that's not what I expected. And some butterflies and some neurographic art. Anyway, moving on. Yes, so let's get started, as they say in all the best videos. I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to warm myself up using a black 0.5 bog standard fine liner, and I'm going to make spirals of different sizes all along here. Now, the other day, recently, if you haven't seen the video, it is still available. The other day, I painted upstairs in my mezzanine area here. I've got quite a reasonable sized studio. It's much bigger than my bedroom, I might say. I sleep in a very small room. It's like a cupboard, and the ceiling is very low, and it's like an attic room. I'll show you sometime if you're interested. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, okay. So the other day I painted in 1 square metre of space. And then I realised afterwards that, of course, I paint in a square metre of space anyway. If you were to see where I'm painting here, or a square yard, for those of us who aren't metrified. And then we had a lot of comments after that video from ladies saying, yeah, you know, I can't paint on big scale at all because of this or that inhibition, which could be anything from not having space in the house because you have given over so much of the space to your children or your husband's railway addiction, or you've got disabled people, or you are, less than 100%. And so a lot of people paint in bed or on their bed, not necessarily in their bed. But the top and bottom of this is whatever I'm trying to say is that I've forgotten. I've forgotten what I was going to say. Anyway, so I'll say something, which is that if you don't have very much space, this is an ideal painting to do, because you could do it half this size if you wanted to. So you could restrict yourself to 5x7, and you can spend quite a lot of time doing these doodles, right? So, for example, you don't have to rush them. So we're on the first row here. This could take us a couple of hours. You could sit here watching the entire of a football match, 90 minutes, no problem. You are sitting here on the sofa doodling while somebody has got the television on and they're watching football or basketball or tennis or whatever. And you say to them, dear, could you possibly watch that with your headphones on? This is a wonderful modern invention, isn't it? Could you probably put your woolly hat on, what's got the headphones in it, so that, first of all, it'll keep your neck warm. This is conversation from my house. And secondly, I'll be able to hear what I want to listen to, and I won't be able to hear you. And he goes, yeah, of course, no problem. And he goes into his own world and he puts on his woolly hat with the headphones inside it, and he's gone. Anyway, so that's the way to make it work, isn't it? So I've come over here with a second row of little white dots, and you'll find as you do this kind of painting, you don't have any intention of doing anything specific, right? You just do it. And then when you've done it, you think, oh, I did that. And so there we are. And the next thing is, what am I going to put there? And I think what I might do is do little vertical lines, and I might take my time over doing that. I'm not going to necessarily do it in a very dark colour, but what shall I do? Shall I do it in grey? I wonder how that would look. Would that work? That might be interesting, mightn't it? That's burnt sienna mixed with ultramarine blue. And I'm just going to do lines. I might not do them all the way along. I might do them in groups. You can always come back and fill them in if you don't like the group idea. Fill in the spaces, I don't know if I like the group idea. Perhaps I don't. Perhaps I'll fill it in. This is what I mean when I talk about following the paint, painting from the heart, doing what comes to your mind or heart, and not worrying about the result. Okay? Let's pick up some brown, and let's just put some dots along here. And then I know what I want to do next. I might come back and fill in a bit more stuff. But what I want to do first, I think I've got this nice dark band here and this one here. And I think I'm going to put, actually, I changed my mind in mid-sentence. I'm going to put some white leaves with disconnected berries. This white pen isn't bad, actually. This is the new one, my new Signo white. I got it from a shop. I went into an art, well, it's not an art shop, actually. It's a stationery shop. That doesn't mean one that doesn't move. That means one that sells paper and the sorts of things that nobody uses anymore, actually, like filing cabinets and paper punches and binders and whiteboards and all sorts of things that you used to need in an office. I remember when we were running our business, I remember when we suddenly realized we were going to have to go paperless. Oh dear, that was hard. That was hard, and I knew in my heart of hearts it was not a good step. Now I'm just outlining these little brown blobs that I did and hoping that I don't ruin my pen because they're going into the wet paint. So I'll try and keep away from it a little bit as much as possible. And let's put some, no, let's not do that. That's too close to the other. Let's just put a few since I started, but we won't do many. Okay, so that's okay. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to use, I want my favorite pen, which is this one, which is my Fidenosuke Hard and Soft, Wide and Narrow brush pen, meant for calligraphy, but works quite nicely. It's actually wearing out, this one. So it's not as good as it should be. I'm going to dip it in water, try to encourage it. I've got some more coming in the post. So this will give us what's the word? And not necessarily completely even result. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this one? What I had in mind was I was going to do some, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know whether I need this pen for it, actually. I think I'm going to give up on him because he really is getting a bit old and tired and exhausted. And I'm going to use this one, which is a no-name thing, came in a set of 8 or 9. It's a brush, a black brush pen. And I'm going to use this just to do some fairly large circles. And we'll just do these fairly large circles all the way across. Not quite sure what that's meant to be, but doesn't matter. Different sizes, maybe it's bubbles. And then having done that, what we need to do is we need to put some white in the middle of there. Yep. This is an Artex acrylic marker. They come in a set. I think it's 48 or something like that. And they are opaque and they go over watercolor really easily. They're really rather nice. Okay, so we've got this nice dark band here. And what we need to do is put something in there. And I don't want dots because I've got dots. Don't want leaves because I've got leaves. Don't want vertical lines because I've got vertical lines. Don't want little boxes because I've got those. Don't want spirals. Need to think of something else. I think probably we are going to have to do some lines. What am I going to do there? Look at my cheat sheet. Is there anything here that's inspiring? Well, that would work. That would work, wouldn't it? We could do that in gold. Let's find our gold. Yeah, let's try that. We could do lines like that. Yes, that works. Another one here, I think. Room for it. If you've never tried doing a painting like this before, because for whatever reason, do give it a try. My daughter, who is incredibly artistic and yet has lived her life, all 46 years of it so far, gradually moving away from art and into, unfortunately, she doesn't want to be in, but into tech. But she has recently broken free and she's started to do things. And she's following some of my tutorials, which is great honor. And she's actually coming up with really good ideas. And so you will see some input from Tamsin from time to time. And she was saying about doing this kind of thing, what she said, which I'll share with you, was that when you're a beginner, you are really cautious about strong contrasts, and you're always a little bit anxious about, because you don't really know where to put the dark lines to make the impact happen. And eventually, that comes as a kind of second nature, and you stop worrying about it, stop thinking about it, and you just do it. But to get to that point where it's second nature, sometimes you've got to practice, obviously. And this is a really good way of practicing, because this teaches you that you don't need to be afraid of strong colour. There's no reason to be afraid of strong colour. So I'm going to demonstrate that by just coming along here and putting a black, this is black mixed with Prussian blue, and I'm just going to sharpen up that line along there. And you can see that that makes a difference, but you don't know it until you've done it. So you just have to have faith. Yeah? Since I've got this nice dark blue on here, I could probably use that somewhere else. And I think what I'll do is I'm going to go up to the top here, and I'm going to paint some nice big circles. Quite differently shaped, not in a absolutely geometric thing. So it's black with Prussian blue. And I'm just going to have these bouncing along the top here. And it looks like this is when you live on a planet in another galaxy, in another solar system, where instead of having white, basically, or yellow moons, you have black ones, which go round the planet that you live on in a row every night. The first one comes up over there in the what is the equivalent of the east, and it rises, and as it gets up to a certain 5 degrees above the horizon, another one comes up behind it. And then this whole parade of black moons goes across the sky. So it would look like that. It's not like that on Earth. So what we're doing is we're painting the world we want. All right. You remember we talked about that? It doesn't just have to be cats with gold butterflies on their tummies. It can be space travel too. I'm just going to put a few little vertical lines here in the same colour, so it's just dark. And we're going to come back to those when they're dry and put something on them. Okay, so that was black and Prussian blue in the background there. And then the other thing is to know that often you can use a colour over the top of the same colour, but just use it a little bit thicker so that it stands out because it's 2 layers where you've put it, right? So this is burnt sienna, the one that I had at the beginning, and I had a row of burnt sienna, and now I'm going to put another row of burnt sienna on top. And these circles are going to be close together. And something I'm going to talk about in more depth as we go forward with this idea of painting the world we want, design our own world, is that I discovered, and I'm going to make a whole video about this if I get the time, that, what did I discover? I discovered after 65 years of painting that painting isn't about painting something. Painting is about correcting things in the sense of, not the sense of making it right, but in the sense of doing something and then looking at it and deciding what to do next, that kind of correction. So, you know, like when you're driving and you're going along the road and something kind of happens in front of you and you have to make a correction. Painting is like that. You see something coming and you have to adjust to it. And that's the same with art. You see, I've done a row of little balls there, and I now look at the whole thing and I adjust it by saying, well, in the next thing I need to do is to put a line, right, like that. And so now we're beginning to come together, and hopefully by the time we've finished this, the thing will hang together in some kind of way. But because we're adjusting it as we go along. And I'm going to, I think, pick up a little bit of raw sienna, burnt sienna rather, and ultramarine again and make a grey. Because you do want to, it is an important thing, is that you want to limit your palette. You don't want to have hundreds of different colours. I'm working here with, let's see, I'm working here with burnt sienna. That's my main colour. That's why it's got this reddish brown tone. I've got black. I've got Prussian blue and indigo. No, not indigo. Prussian blue and ultramarine blue. And something that looks like yellow ochre, or I call it vanilla. And that's it, right? So those are the only colours that I use, and that will make sure that your painting has a certain amount of harmony in it and doesn't go wild and all over the place. Okay, so we have grey here, and what was I going to do on there? I think what I'll do is, this is a darker grey, so I'm going to do, sorry about the dog barking, I don't know what he's talking about, I can't understand dog. Talking about can't understand dog. I'm listening to, I have Audible. Do you have Audible? I expect you do. I'm listening to Andrew Cotter and his books, 2 books about Mabel and Olive and how they shot to fame during the pandemic, and all the things that he has written about his wonderful 2 Labrador retrievers and their lives together, which is, it's a lovely book actually, very thoughtful and very wise, and full of interesting insights into life and the meaning thereof, but without being in any way heavy. It makes me laugh sometimes. And he's actually, he's a sports commentator, and a very good one too. But he really became famous because of this, because of the pandemic and his dogs. It's quite funny really, isn't it? A bit like us. Okay, so we've got that there now. I think now on the next row, I'm going to take a white pen, this one. No, I tell you what, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to do a row of my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 in the middle. Okay, I'm not going to count all the way through, but you can lose track actually. You remember we did this design on our sheep a couple of years ago now that have been very popular? Yeah. Okay, so that's that. That looks good. And then I think I'm going to repeat this leaf motif up here, but I'm going to do it the other way up. I'm going to do it this way up, like this. I think I mentioned this the other day. This pen, Signo, is fine. We all have problems with white pens, don't we? But this one, if you don't go too fast, that's what I found, actually. And if you buy it from a local shop where they actually have some kind of level of stock control and not from Amazon, where God knows how long it's been sitting in an unheated or overheated warehouse. You never think about that, do you? The problem is it's so difficult to get a lot of things. When you live in a place like this, I'm sure some of you live in remote areas too, it's actually really hard to find things in the shops because a lot of the shops have closed down here in France. It's very difficult. You can't but they used to have a whole bunch of fashion shops in the high street here and they've all gone. They've all gone. I don't know what people are putting on their bodies anymore. They have to go to Amazon. There's really no choice. Okay, well, this is looking all right. We've still got all of this bit here, and I won't forget that up there. That is obviously crying out for gold. Crying out for gold spirals. Don't you think? Let's put a gold spiral on this one. Oh, yes. Oh, this is a nice dark one. Again, don't forget, don't go too fast. You can carry on doing this indefinitely, actually, because as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, yeah, you know, I could, on that line below there, here, I could put a whole bunch of tiny spirals there. Or just little dots would be easier. And that would be quite nice. It's a bit like embroidery, isn't it? I'm not an embroiderer really, although I have had a go at it. There's not many things, craft and needlecraft and so on wise, that I haven't had a go at over the years. And of course I was taught embroidery at school. I'm sure you were too. We had actually a teacher. Her name was Miss Snook, and she was actually a published author, and she was actually quite aristocratic. Yeah, and she was very well known and very highly respected, and we didn't know that. Well, I didn't know that. But we were very privileged at my school, Chislehurst and Sidcup Coles Grammar School, to have Miss Snook and she wrote loads of books on embroidery. Of course, I wasn't good enough at it to be in her group, but yeah, so that kind of sort of sparked interest. So I did do embroidery, and the reason why I'm mentioning it is because this is like embroidery, only it's embroidery that I can do, because I can't really, especially now, my hands are not as good as they used to be. And, well, they're not bad, actually. I haven't got arthritis or anything. But yeah, so I feel as if I'm embroidering a sampler, you know, a sampler. In England, I think it's the same in America. A sampler is a piece of work that children and young people used to do when they were learning to embroider or sew, and they used to demonstrate that they'd learnt X stitch. You know, here is a row of cross stitch, and here's a design done in Lazy Daisy, and here's a design done in blanket stitch, and so on and so forth. And we did that. We did that at school. We did a little sampler. Why am I saying this? And that's what this looks like, because it's kind of all in one panel. And it's got all these different stitches in it. It's true, isn't it? Isn't that right? I think that there's something in that. Oh, I know what I want to do here, because we've got these light areas here, and I'm going to put some sort of fish in here. We used to keep fish. I wish we still did. I like fish. One of these days, when we don't have the dogs anymore, and I'm very old, I shall persuade Tamsin to set up a tank for me. I'm going to have fish and budgerigars. Well, not budgerigars, actually. I'm going to have finches. Those beautiful finches. There we are, fish. I lived that long. And we'll make them goldfish. You see how this works, how you do a chain. You start, you don't know what you're going to do at all until you've started. Then you start and you still don't know what you're going to do next. And then you do something, and then it makes you think of something else. It's a bit like those, oh God, I hope I haven't turned the camera off. Yeah, no. The other day I was doing this and somebody phoned and turned off the camera, because if they phone, it turns off the camera. Oh dear, I wasn't very happy. There was a book that came out about how to remember things, and it said about making chains of connections. So if you wanted to remember a list of something, you had to imagine that you were in a house, and all the things you needed to remember, you'd put them in different places in the house, so a shopping list, and you would have your French bread sitting on the sideboard, and then next to it there would be a lump of cheese, and then there'd be a mouse eating it, and and so on and so forth. And you'd remember it by connections like that. And this is what this is like. It's like you start, and then you do the next thing, and then you do the next thing, but you don't have any overall picture at all of what you're going to do until you've done it. Really, I mean, it's basically when you've done it. So I'm going to pick up some more, a dark colour here, a dark brown, and I'm going to come into these ones here. And again, until I literally picked up the brush, I did not know, I hadn't decided what I was going to do. And that doesn't mean to say that what I do is wonderful in any way, shape or form. It just means that I've done something. And I always know when it's 11:05 because my tummy starts to rumble. And it doesn't matter when I eat my breakfast or what I eat for breakfast, or even if I have 2 breakfasts, I still get hungry around 11 o'clock. Isn't that ridiculous? I have yogurt and cooked fruit for breakfast number 1. And then because I'm a good Germanic type, I always have breakfast number 2, my second breakfast, which is usually a piece of toast with some peanut butter or marmalade or something. And I do that every day, but still, I get hungry at 11:05. It's really silly. Okay, I'm just filling in these gaps a little bit here, where I can. Okay, so that's that. And what's the next thing? I think I could, what could I do now? I'm gonna do a row of, no I'm not, what am I gonna do? I'm going to do a white line. I'm going to do a white line here. You know why I did a white line there? Because I just wanted to use that pen. And I'm going to do another white line here. Zen, arrête. I rather like that. I could improve that by using this white pen to give myself a little bit more space there, right? So that these are more evenly divided. Yeah, so that's one of the good things about this pen. It can make corrections for you. It's like Tipp-Ex. Okay, so we have this little bit here. I know, what I haven't done yet, I haven't actually painted any leaves, have I? So let's go for some ultramarine mixed with, shall we do it in a dark grey? Yeah, maybe we'll do it in a dark grey so that it shows up nicely. And then when that's dry, I'll probably add some embellishments like, say, gold or white or something. I don't know exactly. So this is just really a background. Looks like propellers on a plane. I must be thinking about flying. We're off to Egypt next week. Okay, so then what we can do now is we could keep the rotational elements going. We put lots of... Someone told me that the spiral was a symbol of tranquility or peace or spiritual something or other. It reminds me of the Reiki gesture, one of the Reiki you know about Reiki, don't you? I'm sure some people think that Reiki is the devil's work, but I don't think so, because Reiki has occasionally saved me from panic attacks and various other things like that. So if nothing else, it's a psychological crutch and support that helps you. And I watched somebody called Andrea Kennedy on YouTube, who is lovely. She is very interesting and very special. I think you would like her if you're in the least bit interested and you haven't already found her. You probably have. If you're interested, you probably have found her. So let's go into these airplane propellers and make them blend in more to the general golden background. We're getting very close, aren't we? You can't have too much gold pen. You really can't on something like this. Well, I think we've got to the end finally. What do you think? Nearly, anyway. I think I want to turn this one into a connected necklace with gold in between these white leaves. I think I probably feel that I made them a little bit too close together, but that's okay. Who is to say? Someone else would say no, that is perfectly fine. And maybe it is. Maybe we need something here. That doesn't really show, does it? If you look at it from the side, it does. It's just adding another layer of texture, as in the embroidery idea. And you could, you can carry on forever. You could add gold to these little motifs. Again, it gives it another layer, another dimension. I really don't think you can go too far with this, which is a wonderful blessing, actually, because one of the things with paintings, I think most people who learn to paint come up against this sooner or later, if not everyone. When is your painting done? And many people who teach art are faced with trying to answer that question for people, and often don't really know, and say things like, well, when you feel you can't do any more to it. Well, that's not necessarily true, but that dilemma doesn't have to be faced with one of these, because you can stop whenever you want, and it's done whenever you stop. It's good enough. And if you want to stop, stop. If you need a cup of tea, stop. If your tummy is rumbling, stop. I'm going around the flowers that have got these stems on here. I won't go around the ones that don't have stems. I didn't give them all stems. I gave most of them stems. This time when we're in Egypt, I'm going to try to do a few more local trips where we take you with us. Would you stop it? There's people outside burning stuff. Yeah, take you around Cairo and show you New Cairo, which is not at all the same as old Cairo. And what we should do this time, actually, we didn't do it last time because it wasn't quite open. The new Egyptian Museum is now at least partly, if not completely, open to the public. So we should go there, and maybe we will if we can find the time, being as we're always so busy when we're in Cairo buying furniture and all this. Have to be very careful about Cairo because it's full of germs, and I always get ill. Always do. Anyone got any suggestions for how to avoid getting sick? I do all the things that you should do. I don't eat the food. I don't drink the water. I don't go out. And still get sick. Right. I think that is enough. I could put more up the top here, but I don't think I will. And I think that will do for now. Oops. So there we are. That is our meander through my mind. And I hope you enjoyed that. Do give it a try. It's great fun. And this one is going to go and join this one on my ring binder here. Another colorscape to look back on and reflect on in the future. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon, everybody. Bye for now. Bye-bye.